Let's take a quick check on the Nigerian market, not the stock exchange today, but the fixed income and currency market. We are seeing some developments there with the Naira weakening over the last few sessions. Today it's closed, it's currently trading at 157 Naira 70 kobo to the US dollar. That's the lowest it has been this year. Standing by to give us some perspective on what is going on is Kubi Momoh. She's head of market risk at UBA. Kubi, this is obviously big news. The Naira at its lowest point this year.
Hi, Wole. Yes, we are seeing some weakening in the Naira, but what we don't know is if it's temporary, because we're expecting some major oil companies to come into the market early next week. But it looks like we might see weakness through the rest of today and maybe till the end of this week as well. But
the big question is why is the Naira weakening right now? There seems to be evidence of elevated demand in the market right now.
Yes, well, so far we think it's just normal demand, just typical imports that are picking up, because at the CBN window as well, CBN is putting up the highest offer they've had this year. In fact, we have the highest offer since December 17th last year of $200 million. On Monday, they devalued by just 1 kobo, but they offered and sold 150 million. So we're seeing some creep up now as businesses are in full swing. Import cycles are underway compared to what we saw very early January when we had sub $100 million on sale.
So in your experience, would you say this is a pickup in demand as the year goes along?
Yes, there usually is. In fact, there always is. By the time you're cycling through the end of the first quarter into the second quarter, there's always a pickup. Maybe not as steep. This week seems to be just a little bit steeper than you'd have expected, especially as it's reflecting in weakness in the secondary market as well.
Okay, but of course, central bank coming to the table and offering more US dollars to kind of stabilize the Naira.
Yes,
but
exactly.
Are you surprised, though, that the Naira is weak, given where oil prices are right now?
Well, yeah, a little bit. I mean, we always knew that at some point, maybe the currency would lose maybe 20, 30 kobo, and we've seen 20, 30 kobo from January. There have been some points in January. In fact, if you look at the Naira's strongest point this year, it was actually at 156.20 or 30. So we're talking about over 1 Naira, although that was a blip. But the Naira has generally devalued by about 1 Naira to the dollar through the course of 2013.
All right, so you're calling the Naira strength earlier this year a blip, but many will argue that Naira should actually be strengthening when you look at the macro picture, when you look at where inflation is, where you look at the interest in our bonds, and you look at, of course, where oil prices and reserves are. So in that context, do you think there's any chance that Naira will strengthen over the rest of this year?
What we think, Wole, is that we should have another stable year. Like you said, if you look at reserves are the highest levels we've seen them since September 2011. And there's been a lot of support for the fixed income. And so we've had a lot of flows coming. Those flows supported the Naira through 2012. Those flows are what account for maybe 20%, maybe 18% of the reserves. However, if you look at the yields on the fixed income securities, they've started to go down. They've gone into single digits. I mean, inflation was single digit this month, and then those yields now are 9.2, 9.9. We still have a few above 10%. So there's been yields are going down.
When you say yields are below 10%, which yields are we talking about? Are we looking at treasury bills here, or are we also looking at bonds?
Treasury bills. No, the bond yields are still stable above 10, slightly above 10, but you know those tenors are quite long. But if you're looking at the treasury bills, the 1-year bills, where there's a lot of interest, they're sub 10%.
All right, so this, of course, if you called the strength of the Naira a blip earlier, now we're seeing a bit of interest, a lot more interest in the dollar recently. In this context, where do you think the Naira is headed in the short term?
Well, in the short term, the Naira will stay stable. Even if we lose 20 kobo, 30 kobo in the interbank market, even if we see a 158, those are still the levels we had last year. The Naira started this year very strong. Demand was extremely soft in early January. So we're not seeing a devaluation. We don't think we're seeing a devaluation yet, but we're just seeing a mild depreciation, but nothing fundamentally wrong with the currency.